God is, I am right here, right now, right here, right now. God is, I am. God is, I am right here, right now, right here, right now. God is, I am. God is, I am right here, right now, right here, right now. God is, I am. I know this truth for all of us. So I speak in the first person so that we may all know this truth together. There is a life beyond this human form that we are so enmeshed in. There is a life that is pure love. It is intelligence. It is absolute joy. It is boundless prosperity. This life is vitality and health, and it is unfolding in a synchronous pattern. And I see this creative intelligence, this spirit, this God, by whatever name I call it, I see it everywhere. I look only to nature to see its beauty and its power. And I look into relationships and I see that it is at work all the time. What a miracle it is that I can know myself as love. That I can see beyond this human condition that I am living. That I can see beyond all the circumstances of my life. All of the activities I am in, all of the commitments that I must meet. All of the stuff that is happening around me, I know, is only my way of expressing myself as the divine. So I go inside for a moment and I choose to remember that I am pure love. I am joy and peace and power. And I allow myself to surrender into this highest being that I am. And as I do this, I watch results happen in my life. I watch my relationships become more loving. I watch my life become richer in any way that is important to me. I watch opportunities for creative expression to come to me. And I watch my health blossom in vitality and strength. And I give thanks for this. I give thanks that I am a self-knowing being. That I am spirit itself, that I am magnificent. And everything I ever choose to do in my life is divinely supported, divinely led. So in profound gratitude for the beauty of this experience that I am having as a spiritual human being, I release this word into the law of life, which delivers to me directly into my beliefs. So knowing I am peace, power, love, joy, and beauty, I release this word, knowing it is so now as spoken. Please join me in declaring, and so it is. God is, I am, right here, right now, right here, right now. God is, I
if you are planning on coming, this might be a really good opportunity for you to bring some friends. You know, if you've been telling your friends about the center, I mean, we're not going to talk or anything, but it might, you know, get them in the door. They can see that you don't have to bite the head off of a live chicken to come in. Would you breathe with me, please? Take it in. Breathe again. And let go. And once more, take it in. And let it go. There's something so sacred about breathing together. So I always appreciate it when you are willing to do that with me. So for the past several weeks, we've been talking about the book, The Four Agreements, written by Don Miguel Ruiz. As I've told you in the past weeks, Don Miguel was actually a medical doctor who had a near-death experience, and when he recovered from that near-death experience, he realized that what his healing ability really was that of a holistic healer, and not as a Western medical doctor. And he added into that, because he had been schooled by his grandmother and his mother about the ancient Toltec tradition and wisdom of Mexico. And what we found when this book came out in 1997, what we found is that his philosophy, utilizing the Toltec tradition plus the other wisdom that he had, the innate wisdom that he had, is that it's amazingly compatible with our spiritual philosophy, which we call the science of mind, which is, I think, why so many of us have embraced it throughout the movement, embraced it here on Sundays. And I think the reason for that is that spiritual truth is spiritual truth, no matter who says it. It could come from Jesus, it could come from Buddha, it could come from the Dalai Lama, or Oprah, or Eckhart Tolle, or Don Miguel Ruiz, or Ernest Holmes. Truth is truth, and when we hear truth, we know it. It hits us right there, right? That's where I get it. It's like, wow, that is a truth. We talk about the golden thread of truth that goes through the different faith traditions. So truth, spiritual truth is truth. So in the Four Agreements, it starts out with the premise that at the time that we are born, as we're little kids, wee little things being born, we are born into certain ways of being. We are being taught different things by our parents and our teachers and society and everybody else. But as these wee little things with no discernment yet, we believe everything that we are being taught. We agree to them, even if it's not true. Don Miguel calls it our society's dream or society's illusion. The one that I've been using for the past couple of weeks is the idea about cold weather bringing illness. We know that's not really true. Cold weather doesn't cause illness, but we believe it does. So here comes the cold weather, and we kind of set ourselves up to become ill. But that is just an agreement. It's an incorrect agreement. But what happens is these agreements get passed on from generation to generation, from society to society, from family to family, from group to group, and pretty soon our entire world is made up of things that we agree to, but that we don't necessarily agree with. Is this making sense? You following me? Okay. So our founder, Ernest Holmes, actually said kind of the same thing when he talked about race consciousness or race belief. Now, when we say that, understand this is an old-fashioned term. It doesn't have to do with the color of our skin. It has to do with us as a human race. We have race beliefs. We are born into a collection of agreements, things that we have collectively agreed to that affect who we are and how we show up in the world, and most importantly, how we see the world. And although some of our collective agreements are fine, a lot of them are very limiting and they are outdated. And they're just simply not true anymore. Not true anymore, and yet we still hold on to them. So Don Miguel, in this book called The Four Agreements, and I understand there's a fifth agreement, we'll get to that later, but in this particular book, in The Four Agreements, he says that if we adopt just these four very simple, they sound simple, not so simple to practice, these very simple agreements, that it's going to transform our lives and it's going to transform how we show up in our lives. So the first one, as you know, is be impeccable with your word. We talked about that last week. The next one is don't take anything personally, don't make assumptions, and finally, always do your best. So of course, we talked about the first agreement last week. Be impeccable with your word. And what we learned is that being impeccable goes far beyond just doing what you say you're going to do, because that's what we think it means. Because what we understand is that when we speak our word, this is how we communicate, and this is how we express our ideas and our thoughts. So every word we speak is based on a thought, and thought is how we create. Is this making sense? You with me so far? So we explored last week about how very powerful our word is, and because that's true, we need to be extra vigilant in paying attention to our thoughts and our words so that we create the life that we want to be living as opposed to the life that we don't want to be living. So be impeccable with your word. Be clear and honest and in integrity and clean. That's the word that comes up for me. Be clean with your word. We talked last week that means gossip. Don't gossip, because it's not clean. Yeah? So that leads me to our next agreement. Don't take anything personally. Anybody else have a problem with taking things personally? Anybody ever filled with righteous indignation? Think of yourself, how could they say that to me? How could they do that to me? How could they think that about me? Who do they think they are? I'm not the only one. Please tell me I am not the only one. Thank you. Okay. When someone does something to us or says something mean about us or mean to us, our first tendency is always to take it personally and get upset about it. So now, this was a challenging talk for me, by the way. I just want you to know this. I want you to think about that. If someone has said something mean or unkind, or done something mean or unkind, and we've taken it personally, and we've gotten upset, the question is, why? Why have we gotten upset? Especially if it isn't true. Why are we believing it if it isn't true? Why are we getting upset about it? Is it possible that maybe we secretly kind of agree with it? Terry Cole Whitaker wrote a book back in the 80s. She was a guru, a spiritual guru back in the 80s. And she said, "What you think of me is none of my business." What you think of me is none of my business. We can learn a lot just from that title alone. What you say to me, what you think of me is not my business. I can only be harmed by it. I can only be affected by it if at some level I kind of agree with it. Here's how Don Miguel put it. He says, nothing other people do is because of you. It is because of themselves. All people live in their own dream, in their own mind. They are in a completely different world from the one we live in. So it's really important to get this. This is like the crux of this lesson today, because all of us are living in a world of our own making, a world of our own upbringing and our experiences and our agreements. So how we respond to others is how we're showing up. It's a result of our agreements. It's a result of our experiences. So if someone insults us, we need to understand that it is only from their point of view, from their world, from their experience. It has nothing to do with us unless we agree to it. We don't have to take it personally unless we think it's true. Interestingly, Don Miguel also says that this is true when people say wonderful things about us. He says not to take that personally either. I really didn't like this chapter. He says that one minute somebody might think you're wonderful, and the next minute they might think that you're the devil. So once again, it is according to their world, their perspective. It has nothing to do with us. So why take it personally? Because when we are secure in who we are, then we can continue to be who we are regardless of what other people say or think, either positive or negative. We don't need to be praised. We don't need to be validated by somebody else. Sure, it feels good when we're validated. I like it. But I don't need to take it personally. Neither do I need to take it personally when people don't like my talks. We just need to be our authentic self and stand in our truth. And then what other people say or do is not about us. So we don't need to take it personally. I know. So a lot of you know my sister Beth. She is a practitioner at the center that I used to serve. Talk about not taking things personally. Try teaching your older sister how to be a practitioner. It was an exercise in not taking things personally, because I'm the younger sister. I just want y'all to be clear about that, okay? So for years, Beth ran a self-awareness program for the U.S. military, for the soldiers and the sailors and the Marines who were at risk for drug or alcohol abuse or inappropriate sexual behavior. You know, they go do things that they probably shouldn't be doing. So as an exercise for her practitioner training, when I was training her and we didn't take anything personally, she wrote the following. I just thought this was super, super clear. She says, as a facilitator, I was exposed to about 20 people a week and their worldviews, outlooks, and interpersonal behaviors. I had to learn to deal with every personality type and dynamic possible. Often behaviors of aggression, indifference, hatred of authority, disrespect toward women, apathy towards others, and every other negative-driven combination would surface and quite often be directed at me as the facilitator. I used to think I was supposed to do something about this negative or inappropriate behavior. Correct it, put the person in their place. Anybody relating to this? Retaliate, engage in one-upmanship, pull rank. Often, she said, I would let it ruin my day, my fondness for my job, and my relationships with other people in my life. And she says, as I became more aware, Reed started studying with my younger sister. I'm so glad she's not here. She would not be amused by all this. She says, as I became more aware, I came to realize, probably after a particularly difficult experience, that their negative behavior did not reflect on me. It reflected on that person. It reflected that person's values, attitudes, disappointments with life. It did not reflect in any way on me and my values, attitudes, outlook on life, or my ability to conduct myself in an appropriate manner. Which is very liberating. I no longer felt as if I needed to do something in that situation. I didn't have to take those negative behaviors personally, even when they appeared to be directed at me. Instead, I began observing it from a place of compassion. This is the best the person is capable of right now. You with me? Yeah. So those people's bad behavior, any person's bad behavior is about their agreements. It's about their perception, how they see the world. It isn't personal. So Don Miguel likens our lives and our perceptions to a movie. He wrote, you create an entire picture or movie in your mind, and in that picture, you are the director, you are the producer, you are the main actor or actress. Everyone else is secondary. It is your movie. The way you see that movie is according to the agreements you have made with life. It is no one's truth but yours. So I want you to actually go there for a minute with me. I want you to picture this. Picture that your eyes are the camera, the projector, and your mind is the film. Are you with me? And your mind is filled with pictures of everything that has ever happened in your life. Because everything you say, everything you think, and everything you do is from the standpoint of your own consciousness, your mind, your agreements. So you're the one that controls both the camera, the projector, and the film. So you are the one who is controlling the movie. You know how they say these days, controlling the narrative. You are the one that is controlling the narrative. When my niece, Leah, was young, she would sometimes have problems when life was not going her way. And my other sister, her mother, would say to her, Leah, the universe does not revolve around you. But in reality, the universe does revolve around us. My universe revolves around me. Your universe revolves around you. We are the stars of our own movies. Yes? You with me? And because that's true for you, and it's true for me, then it is also true for those people who are saying or doing things that we are taking personally. They are the stars of their own movies, so anything that they say, anything that they do is because of what is going on within them. It has nothing to do with us, even when it feels like it. You okay?
Yeah.
Do we need to take a breath? I need to take a breath. Part of what challenges me about this is that I am a true metaphysician. If you are new to that term, meta means beyond, physician means the physical, so beyond the physical. I am a true metaphysician. I absolutely believe that everything in my outer world is a reflection and a result of my consciousness, of my awareness, of my beliefs. I absolutely believe that we attract to us what we are. So if I'm putting out love, I receive love. If I'm putting out anger, I receive anger. That is basic metaphysics. Those of you who are new, you're going to learn that in the Discover class, or you're going to learn that in the Foundations class that starts in April. It is basic science of mind. What goes around comes around. When I give out, I receive back. Our founder, Ernest Holmes, says every person is surrounded by a thought atmosphere, a mental atmosphere, which is the direct result of his conscious and unconscious thought. It in turn becomes the direct reason for and the cause of that which comes into his life. What goes out comes back in, consciously and unconsciously. So if I am attracting everything in my life as a result of my consciousness, then shouldn't I take it personally when somebody does something to me, right? Isn't my consciousness attracting it? So the answer is yes-ish. I am responsible, absolutely. Everything is a reflection of my consciousness, absolutely. I am the sum total of every experience and every conversation and every movie and every TV show and everything, every memory I've ever had is stored in the hard drive of my computer. It is all there. It is there in my subconscious mind, my unconscious mind. Because of that, I want you to hear this, everything is stored there. Everything is stored there. So as a result, I don't know everything that is lurking in the recesses of my subconscious mind. I don't know every thought that I may have put out. I don't know every vibe maybe that I'm emitting. So that makes it doubly important that we clear our thoughts, that we are always vigilant about what we are doing so that we can rid ourselves of those unwanted, unknown, and destructive negative thoughts. Yes? You with me? Because, get ready, if I have attracted a particular situation or a particular circumstance that feels personal, I get it. My job as a metaphysician, my job as a spiritual person is to look at what has come back to me and figure out what I may have been putting out that has brought it back to me. I'm not taking it personally, as in my feelings get hurt. I'm using the experience as a mirror or as a reflection of something negative that I might be emitting, whether I am aware of it or not. Take a breath. Because if you think about it, this one's hard. Sometimes when someone is being mean or is being negative at us, it's actually a great gift. Because what it is doing is it is giving us the opportunity to clear up what no longer serves. Last week we talked about tilling the minds of tilling the soil of our minds so that negativity and anger and hatred can't take root, it can't flourish in a mind that is tilled for goodness. And we all agreed that we would prepare our mental soil to receive only those seeds of love and abundance and harmony and goodness and health. Because when our minds are tilled, and you understand what I'm talking about tilling, I'm talking about doing the work, I'm talking about digging in there and turning that stuff up and making that soil ready to receive the good that is our divine inheritance. So because our minds were beginning to till it to only receive good, then anything unlike that cannot take hold unless we let it. Because when our minds are tilled to receive only good, then those negativity seeds, they just fall to the ground. They can't take root. They just get blown away into the nothingness. This is work. This is work. So when we don't take things personally, when we choose to live a life of impeccability, a life of integrity, when we are carefully watching our words and our thoughts, and when we are consciously tilling our minds with those positive tendencies, then, as Don Miguel suggests, we experience transformation. And that is personal. One thing I want to say, I was thinking about this on the way, I'd already prepared my talk. One thing I want to say, and I think Amy's song is going to address this as well. Not taking things personally does not mean that you have to hang out with someone who is not treating you well. Does that make sense? They may be a reflection, but that doesn't mean we have to be right up in it. So just remember that. Not taking it personally does not mean we have to invite it into our lives. So next week, our agreement is don't make assumptions. I assume you'll be here. I love you, and so it is.